Hey, welcome back. It's Tuesday again. And here we are, ready to sit together and do yet another reading where we tune in, find out what's going on. I love this. I love it, love it. I'm so glad that you're here too. So, as far as like the title of this video, like timeline shifting, it's been on my mind for quite some time. And maybe for a few years actually, because I've been off and on kind of uh putting my toe in, dabbling with what it means to consciously shift your timeline. And like what the heck does that even mean? Like for somebody that is maybe hearing this for the very first time, what does that even mean? Well, for starters, I think that we shift timelines all the time. Like, I think that this word has become a little bit buzzy in these communities because we're all starting to activate this certain level of consciousness where we're starting to realize that we actually are multidimensional beings and that we aren't just in this one um rooted never ending time frame, that we actually do have more choice or more sovereignty around the way in which we move through time. Something that has really shown this to me, and on many, many occasions, are different meditations that I have tried, or when I'm sitting and doing Reiki with a client, or when I am opening the Akashic records and sitting in there in that space, or even just having a special moment with a loved one where it's like time isn't really what we think it is. When I'm doing Reiki, especially distance Reiki, there are times where it feels like I have moved back into the past or into the future, and talking to these parts of ourselves that live in the past or in the future, and talking to it from a place of right here, right now, because when you kind of dissolve that barrier and you get really, really present in the moment, time doesn't really seem to work the same way or maybe even exist, you know? And yeah, it's one of those things like collectively we've all decided, what is this? Lint. Collectively we've all decided that time is a practical tool. And it makes sense because if you want to meet somebody at in a certain place, it's nice to have a certain coordinates. You need some coordinates to get yourself to the right place at the right time. So it is a very practical tool when you are living a human life. So, but I think we're starting to become a little bit more open about the fact that we are more than just living human lives. We are living parallel lives and future lives and all these different things simultaneously, because everything happens now, right now. That means you can talk to your future self right now. You can talk to your past self right now. All of that. So I really wanted to tune into our higher selves and our trusted, beautiful guides that can help us actually maybe get a bit more footing, a bit more understanding around uh, timeline shifting, and perhaps a bit of advice right now, because it seems like right now this has popped up for me it just in the past few days many times. And I'm just thinking it's in our awareness, it's happening. There's something really big for us all to learn in this area. And let's see what they've got to say. Let's see what we've got to say. Because I honestly think that sometimes when we are tuning into our most trusted guides, it's actually us. It's actually us. It's that perhaps that future person, version of yourself. I'm just covered in lint today. Or perhaps it's that future version of yourself that has already lived all these different avenues. I do feel that there is that part of ourselves that has already experienced every possible outcome, every possible choice that you could make from this point. Say, like, you're trying to make a big decision on a big move or a job that you're thinking, should I take it? Should I not? Well, your future version, your future self has already made that choice and discovered what happens, has already made the move and discovered, was it a good move? All of these have already happened because we are so multidimensional. It's just a taking time and slowing down to listen to that part that has already experienced it and to see what advice does it have for us here making the choice that we're ultimately making for our life this round. So, my goodness, I feel like I'm such a sleepy face because I had such a night last night. There's a big rainstorm last night. It was really wild, really exciting. Hard to sleep through, mainly because I feel like I actually was clearing out something subconscious that I do not really know. I was not aware of what it was, but it really did feel like I was being thrashed around on a boat, on a ship. And when I chatted with one of you actually earlier this morning, just through text, and it came to my awareness that wow, yeah, that was a clearing. That was a clearing of something big. Because even though maybe in the past I would have woken up and been super exhausted and been like, oh, I just can't even really do much today because I'm just kind of a zombie. And but I feel as if there's some wiring in there that has really shifted. Something has really changed. And I feel really clear and I feel really strong. Yeah. So I'm just curious out there if anybody has been experiencing timeline shifts. Have you been working on this? Have you tried it? Have you done a meditation where you do like a quantum leap? Oh, and it's funny, they rebooted that show. That Quantum Leap is like on the air now. It's really in the conscious awareness right now, like in collective awareness. It's pretty fascinating. So, yeah. So let's just go ahead. Let's just get really rooted. Let's get rooted right here, right now. Put those roots way down into the earth, into Pachamama. Anchor yourself. Get into your body. Wonder what that was. We'll move on. It didn't pop all the way out, so. But then actually start to feel now the top of your head. Feel how all of the stars, the moon, the sun are all connected to you right here, witnessing our group moving together through time. And with open hearts, let's just call in our higher selves, the unconditionally loving part of ourself that just wants what's best for us, that wants us to move forward with grace and joy, ease, but also learning more about ourselves. So, and let's ask, what is it that we need to know about shifting timelines? What is it that we need to know today about shifting timelines? There's so much astrology going on that is so synchronistic with this question as well. I may have to do a whole separate video just on that because there's a lot that we've been moving through. So I see it. There's our card. There's our card. Ooh, wow. Lifting the veil, questioning everything. Anything unaligned must go. Wow. And I'm hearing the words, going through the gate lightly, treading lightly. I feel like also, in I keep wanting to say collective awareness. And I feel like that's an appropriate term, collective awareness. There has been so much move towards like getting to the space where you're doing what brings you the most joy. You only own what brings you the most, like the like the minimalist movement and essentialist movement and the tiny house movement, like all these things of coming back to a simpler way of life, treading lightly. And I'm seeing this person cloaked in starlight moving through a veil. And really, when we move through these different dimensions, if we want to move to the next highest and best version of ourselves, we really do need to let go and ditch some of the old default programming that has been just kind of running on repeat through our ancestry or through our society in all these different ways. And so, really, it's all about getting back to our true nature, our true selves. Like, look at this cloak, that she really is a starlight being, that she really is just so, I just feel such simplicity in this card. But it's pulling back the veil and moving through to the next dimension lightly. And to do it lightly, we really do need to shed what doesn't fit anymore. And it's such a natural process to shed what doesn't fit, you know? And so I feel like for me, maybe it's because I don't know. I've got some strong earth signs for me that doing this literally is sometimes really helpful. So, yeah, that's probably why on this channel I talk a lot about like decluttering your space and cleaning the layer of your reality. Clean your layer of reality, and that cleans the layer of your mentality. And then you can move through that next phase lighter. Because I'm also kind of seeing it as like the seven veils, but moving through the veils. And it's kind of like a sieve that gets the mesh gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until this big giant boulder that is trying to move through actually starts to dissipate and disintegrate until it becomes a soft powder that just moves right on through. And I'm just kind of seeing that from the guides of oh my gosh, again, this message of water, 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 dissolving, dissolving, dissolving. So, I mean, I also feel like this is just, I should just make one video that says drink water and clean your shit. And there you go. That's the message for all time. Um, yeah, why bother doing any more readings, right? But it's the dissolver of everything. The water is a universal solvent. And so, what better way to move through the veil of dimensionality into the next octave of where you would like to see yourself going, and do it with grace and ease? Doing it just with this cloak of starlight, just with what is absolutely true and important and uplifting to you, what fills you with love and light. And look at this, the like, I see her face being illuminated by this direction forward. It's a path of brightness, of moving forward into deeper and deeper love, like self-love, and then also loving those around you. I love that. Lifting the veil. And this is such a time. The veil really is very thin at this time of year. And right now, the sun is more or less still pretty close to Antares. That's the heart of the scorpion in the sky. And that is an alignment when the sun is in alignment with Antares. That is a time of really looking deep into your psychology and moving through the different octaves to really dig through all these things that keep you heavy and keep you from moving through the veil. Because you can't get to the other, to the like through the passage carrying such heavy bags. And I think that's why we're all collectively shedding so much. Oh my gosh, I'm remembering now something that came up for me last night. So I was having actually some very difficult sleep, and uh it just kind of felt like more of my like frustration around uh this constant vibration that I have been feeling. And it's literally constant vibration, and I'm still trying to understand what that is. And when I was in a moment of being very frustrated and thinking, what the hell? Like, I just want to feel stillness. I just want to be still. I'm so fucking sick of being shaken and it making me feel even physically ill, like enough shaking. Like, where can I need to leave to get out of this place where, but what came up actually was yet another shaking through whatever it is that brought this into my reality. That, I don't want to go and be like, oh, we create, well, we do and we don't. We create our reality, right? So it's like, why did we create these different scenarios that make us go through something gritty and difficult and challenging? Why did we create that? And also noticing that there are infinite other creators hanging out with us, and we're all doing this together. And so I'm creating this, you're creating this, we're both here creating something. And why are we creating this? Why are we making this happen? And yeah, that whole really seeing the psychology of it, I recognized that I was letting something go on a really super duper deep level, and I didn't need to be aware of it mentally, that it was enough to know that it was being released. And when it was released, I felt the change almost immediately. I felt a sense of peace and calm. And I really do feel so much stronger today in a way that I just can't even describe. So things are really happening. Ooh, the moon and this other card really just popped out. So, the moon, and then I'm going to shuffle with intention about this, but the moon has something big to tell us today, especially because today the moon is conjunct the Pleiades, and I love this alignment so very much. It's such a mystical and beautiful alignment. This is the time of the month. Every month, the moon will make its dance with the Pleiades, the seven sisters who dance in the sky. There's so much mythology and so much story around these seven sisters, these seven stars. But this is really a moment in our month where we can tap into our expression, our inner muse, what needs to be expressed. And when we really are moving through these veils of consciousness and we are deciding where we want to go next, tapping in to the phase of the moon and the place where the moon is hanging out, the house where she is. I do feel that these are called lunar mansions, but I am learning about those very slowly. But the time when she's hanging out with the Pleiades is one of the lunar mansions, and it's a very sacred place in the sky when she's there. And basically, I feel every time I've started to get a little deeper with this, like what is this alignment about? And I feel that it gives us messages around what would help us express our beauty on a deeper, more soulful, more authentic level. And it's also a bit of a time capsule because these seven sisters hold mysteries of the ancient, ancient ways. And so tuning into this alignment actually goes and helps us to discover more of our latent gifts, our superpowers, our the real use of our own authentic magic. And when I use that word, I'm not using it in like a Harry Potter way. I'm using it in this way of uh how can you become so in tune with yourself that when you move through the veil, you know where you're going. And the only way to really do that is to tune into your heart and listen to not just the joys, but the fears as well. The fears tell you what you've already done before and what didn't work out. And those fears are super, super important to teach us what needs to be cleared and what needs to be processed and or just what needs to just be let go without even dwelling in it. So I want to see actually I'm just going to leave it with that with the moon there. I think that's a beautiful space. Connecting with the moon in all of her phases is so powerful. And so the moon actually is going to be full tomorrow. Let me take a look at that. Am I sure about that? Because sometimes it happens like early in the morning. I don't know if there's all these different times. So let's see. The full moon is at 8 o'clock tomorrow night if you're Pacific time. And um, yeah, full moon. It's really a time of like the culmination of everything. It's very it's very alive, very climactic. There's lots of activity going on. If I'm not mistaken, let me actually pull up the chart. I think that the moon is conjunct Mars, full moon conjunct Mars tomorrow, I believe. Um, I would have to fiddle too much to find that out for sure. But yeah, I do believe that's what's going on. And Mars is in retrograde, and that is also kind of uh an important piece of the puzzle because that retrograde um time is for us to actually maybe pause a little bit with the impulsive need to move forward and actually, think about if it actually is in alignment with where you want to go. Yeah. So I'm going to pull actually from my Galactic Heritage deck. Wow. And as I'm doing that, it just like the card just falls straight out and we've got the Pleiades, of course, because they're literally communicating with us right now. The Pleiades hanging out with us, and it's talking about equal value philosophy. This is a card that comes up for me in my readings a lot. So, um, equal value philosophy is talking about how every single thing in our worlds has a value. And if we look at everything as being created somehow from source, from all that it was created by an intelligent creator, that all of these things, the good, the bad, the ugly in our frame of reference, are all equal. Everything is absolutely 100% equal. So the things that drive you absolutely insane and the things that drive you like to your ultimate passion and joy have absolute equal value. There isn't a hierarchy. The hierarchy is really all just in our heads. And looking at it in terms of all things have a right to live and move through this time period with us. So, and this is actually just kind of funny because here sometimes I'm just like, I get, I'm so close to this road out here with trucks, and like all these just activity and noise, and being a very sensitive person. Sometimes I'm just like, I wish that wasn't in my reality, but it has a place and it has a reason for being there. And so taking a look at the things that are in your reality and starting to recognize that they all have a right to be there and they're all here to actually teach us something incredibly valuable. So I love that the Pleiades have come through with that message of everything having an equal value. That's incredible. So let's go ahead. I feel like this reading is starting to get pretty long because I've been chatty with it. But let's go ahead and I'm very called today to actually pull on the herbs. I think that getting a bit of roots would be very helpful. So let's go ahead and pull an herb for us that would help us in this timeline shifting. And I'm not sure if we really fully talked about the how. Maybe that's less important of how the timeline shift. Maybe that will come in later videos. But what herb can actually help us right this moment as we're moving through so many veils? Ooh, burdock. Hmm. It says tap into your resources. Burdock. Burdock is an herb that is used in fire cider. It's really great for the immune system. So especially right now where it is the peak flu and cold and virus and all these little things that come floating around that are all geared to make our immune system stronger, but there are other ways. There are other ways to make your immune system stronger. And how about using a bit of burdock instead of catching the flu? Why not? Why not learn through I don't know necessarily if I would call this bliss because burdock is very strong and very bitter and not the yummiest herb. She didn't hear me say that. But burdock is pungent. And so, using this herb, it definitely yeah, it strengthens you. That's for sure. But it's an interesting way of looking at getting strong through challenges or getting strong through deeply putting roots down into the ground. And if you have seen a burdock root, it's got massively thick roots. These things are strong. These guys, they mean business when they grow. I have not had much experience with the burdock plant, but eventually maybe I will. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and read about burdock. Okay, look at that picture up close. Yeah, just reminds me of such a cozy evening that you could have sitting by a fire on these nights. Okay, you know the burrs that get into matted dogs' coats in autumn? The ones that prick your fingers and refuse to come untangled? That's burdock. She's a tireless companion, and yes, she sticks with you, cheering you on when you're running low on steam or self-esteem, or recovering from a lingering ailment. Burdock's a nurturer, building you up with gentle sweetness and asking nothing in return. Her taproot runs deep, and once she sets her sights on breaking up crusty soil or shifting old habits, she's persistently relentless. She's the friend of your childhood, the one you could always count on to have your back. Trust me, she says, all will be well. Oh, wow, what a beautiful message that is. And bringing up I brought up a metaphor of trying to push the boulder through the seven layers. And then you've got burdock who pushes through the soil and breaks up uh, parts of the soil that I guess have become stuck and stagnant. She moves her way through and starts to dissolve away those tougher places in the earth. And so I see that as coming in and like gently allowing those boulders to shake to shake loose and actually start to pulverize down into the finest powder. And it talking about childhood. And a lot of these boulders are boulders because these things have been with us since we were tiny, 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 or even past lives, carrying the same boulder from life to life to life to life. And how can we start to make these shifts gracefully with allies? All of this work that we do on this channel is knowing that we don't have to do the heavy lifting alone, that we have the phases of the moon, working with the moon, releasing on the full moon, and then really starting to plant seeds on the new moon of what you want to have happen. And then moving through the veil with these star friends, your star family, your ancient connections, and one of those being the Pleiades, asking the Pleiades to really help you align with your most open-hearted pathway forward. You're the one that really brings you the most excitement, the most joy. Why choose a path of suffering when you can consciously choose joy? And so, the Pleiades are all about choosing joy. So let's go ahead and pick a crystal because these are yet more allies to help us move lightly and to shift our vibrations, because that is what crystals do. Interesting. Howlite, you are the foundation. Interesting. You are the foundation. I really like Howlite for when I hold on to it, I feel like my breath gets deeper. I feel like it opens up places in my lungs where I feel more spacious inside. Howlite really feels like it opens those little doorways inside. Okay, Howlite. I rarely read the second page of this book after the initial description, but it actually just, I can't help it. I really want to bring this up of Howlite helping with sleep. And a lot of this work, I'm actually seeing, the moon and the lifting of the veils. These are subconscious activities. And so when we are shifting, sometimes we actually shift timelines in our sleep. And we wake up the next day either really rejuvenated or really tired. And sometimes I have a feeling when we wake up really tired, I wonder, are we shifting? Like, was it heavy work that night to shift? So I think it's interesting that Howlite is helpful for sleeping. So it says, soft is not a word usually used to describe a stone, but it suits Howlite just right. Shh, she whispers to your monkey mind. Come back to center. Sit in stillness. It's not that Howlite wants you to curl back into bed with the chamomile tea and call your day done. Quite the opposite. Howlite knows that your projects and adventures, your conversations and relationships will slide into flow and synchronicity when you yourself are unruffled. You are the foundation. Come from your center, undistracted by excess aggravation and random irritations. This is where your power lies. There is a still point within you, and Howlite advises, allow yourself to sink into it. Oh God, that's so beautiful. These cards are just so beautiful. So like, you see this like Howlite sitting in a cup of tea with all these roots, and the roots honestly actually are kind of where did burdock go? Kind of reminding me a bit of these like thick tree trunks of the burdock root. So using these two together, the burdock and the howlite, to start to actually get strong in your center so that when you come back to your center, it feels good. It feels unshakable. That it doesn't matter what's going on around you. It is a point where, you can come back home and then you can make your next decision. So last but not least, let's get a beautiful animal guide. And again, my friends, it just slid right out. The house finch continues to be our guide this week. She was our guide last week. And the house finch, again, look at this, loosening that stone, loosening the things that bind, and lightening your load, because moving your way forward, we need to lighten the load, move forward with freedom. And it's the house finch getting back into center, getting back into stillness. Wow. I love that we've got this guide again. I'll read it just in case. Whoops. Yeah, I'll read it again. That way you don't have to necessarily go back to the reading last week, although that might be helpful to see what house finch was originally bringing up for us. Let's see, 31. Okay, here's a bigger picture of the house finch. And I remember last week, a lot of it had to do with being in the mirror and seeing your reflection. And yeah, okay. House finch's song is so sunny and sweet that in the 1940s, a speculator tried to sell this small bird as a pet, which he called the Hollywood finch, a reference to the finch's West Coast roots. The ploy was a flop, perhaps because house finch can't compete with a parrot for beauty and cage appeal. Unable to sell his stash of songbirds, the speculator released house finch and friends on Long Island, and from there they quickly spread to bird feeders across the United States. If you, like Finch, have ever been deemed not enough, remember, this is exactly how House Finch escaped his gilded cage. Despite being judged as not enough, Finch still sings like a star. Do you have strength? You too have a strength, a song. Do you know what it is? So a bit of last week's reading is coming back of um, the best way to shift timelines and to pick your very best movement forward is to actually hop on to your truth cord. Like this is what came before, the truth cord, the one that really connects you to your roots, like burdock, and then connects you to your center, the howlite, and then connects you to your higher self and your cosmic allies with the wings of a bird. But really starting to see your pathway forward as a golden string, a golden thread, and choosing consciously to move on to the golden thread timeline of your life. And I'm seeing House Finch coming through to remind us which string that is, and to also, share um, that your song is so important. And getting stronger and stronger in your center helps you actually get more confident around sharing your song with the community around you, and to do it without fear, to do it without those heavy boulders that we carry with us through the past. Those dissolved boulders will help us really fly through the different dimensions to this pathway that we want to move forward on. So, yeah. What a cool reading we have. This is a wonderful time to really align with the moon. The moon is telling us that we're in a space where the veil is very thin, very, very thin. And it's time to really start to um, look with those eyes of um, of truth to where you want to go. Yeah, which direction you want to move into. So, my friends, I would love to hear how everybody's doing out there in this time where we're creeping closer to winter solstice. Winter solstice is coming up very soon on the 21st. We'll see what happens when we get to that point. I'm excited to find out with you guys. And yeah, I think that's kind of it for today. Hmm. So yeah, if anybody out there has had experiences actually meditating on shifting timelines, I'm so curious to know what your experience was. I know that for me, when I have done that, there are some obvious things where different relationships, you come home and different relationships, like, I did this the one of the first timeline shifting meditations that I did really consciously was when I was in doing the retreat in Mexico last February. And when I came home from doing that timeline shift, I really was asking to hop on the the timeline of where my family is healthiest, where we're happy, and we're in each other's company, and we just lift each other up and enjoying each other more. This is after a long stint of us being confined for 2020 shutdown stuff. And although we all get along, it was one of those things, like we had some things to kind of like reshape with our overall morale, and level up how we were all feeling. And when I got back, I noticed my daughter she was doing really, really well. She was just lighter, brighter, happier. And my husband felt as if, he was taking better care of himself and doing some really, really cool things that I was like, wow, this this is different. Something shifted. Yeah, things are moving in a direction. And it was just so effortless. So really it's just taking the time. Sometimes taking the time to sit down and do these exercises is the hardest part. And carving it out. So, okay, everybody. That's the end of the reading. So, all right. I'm so glad to have you here with me. And I guess I will see you next time. Bye.